Hey gang, what's up? Happy Friday. Hope you're doing well. It is a brick cold day out here, but we have some baseball to talk about, okay? And I have a question, and I want to know what you think about this. I really, really do. Why the hell do the Yankees pay so much in revenue sharing to teams that aren't required to spend it? And why are they getting away with it? Okay? What do I mean? Well, this is the way it's set up right now with the last two CBAs in baseball. Teams that invest in their products, invest in their teams, their payrolls and whatnot, are penalized more, or just penalized altogether, punished. And you can see with the luxury tax, 233, 253, 273, and 293, the Cohen tax. So the teams that spend a lot of money are punished with all this luxury tax, right? And the teams at the bottom who have low payrolls that are still worth billions of dollars, and they are, and I'll get to that too, just get to pocket the money, and there's no requirement for them at all to spend it on payroll and to make their team better, okay? The last CBAs have happened, and there's been unsuccessful attempts several times to change that, to, make teams to stop pocketing money, stop pocketing profits from teams like the Yankees. And again, it's other teams too, right? The Red Sox pay it, the Phillies pay it, the Mets, the Dodgers. And it's not fair, in my opinion, okay? But as a Yankee fan, as a Yankee content creator, this drives me nuts, okay? And I think it's completely unfair. And until baseball changes that, and again, this is partly due to the owners and the union, both tone deaf in their efforts to kind of dominate the financial aspect of baseball, okay? And we'll get to that too, but nothing has happened, okay? And I'll give you an example too. The MLB Players Association, they filed a grievance in 2018 to get teams like the Pirates and some of these teams like the A's to stop pocketing the free money given to them by the big market teams. And it's 2023 now, and nothing has happened. Nothing. Nada. Okay? And we're not even talking about the extra $100 million that is coming into each team right now for new TV rights deals. An additional $100 million. Okay? And the Mets are going to pay. And there's this endless comparison now that Steve Cohen owns the Mets. Everything is going to be what the Yankees do or don't do is going to be compared to what the Mets are doing. And again, keep in mind, spending wildly doesn't guarantee you the World Series. Look at what happened last year. They couldn't even win one round in the playoffs, the Mets. That might change this year. It might not. But I don't think it doesn't make any sense really to compare the Yankees to the Mets. The Yankees have never spent more than they have this offseason in their entire franchise history. Even though it's only a couple of moves, they've never spent more. So, but I understand it comes with the territory too. The fans don't want to hear it. Fans are passionate, they're informed, but they're also impatient. And we want the Yankees to do more. Yeah, they're the richest franchise in all of baseball. We're valued at $6 billion, not including the YES Network, okay? But they also pay out more money than any other franchise in revenue sharing and all these other things too. We'll get to that too. But again, I'm not going to cry poverty for a billionaire owner, just like I'm not going to shed a tear for players that are only making $30 million a year. It's going to fall on deaf ears here. But this is the type of stuff. And I understand owners don't, don't want a salary cap. Baseball doesn't want a salary cap, the union. Okay, just like owners don't want to be penalized for luxury tax. Like the Mets are going to be paying upwards of almost $100 million in penalties this year, just for exceeding the Cohen threshold by a lot. Getting punished for investing in your own product, which is crazy. Okay, but it's just the way that the baseball landscape is right now. And I'm gonna give you a couple things here that I think might give you a little bit, open your eyes a little bit. And it opened my eyes. I was a little pissed off when I saw some of the stuff last night. I was researching this stuff. So we're going to talk about it tomorrow night in the live stream at 9:30. So if you want to join, you're welcome to. Please subscribe to the channel if you like this type of stuff. We have conversations like this too. And this is the type of stuff that's not talked about around baseball. That's why that's why I'm talking about it. Okay? Whether people agree with me or not, you know me, guys and gals. I talk about this type of stuff. I ask the harder questions. Okay, I'm not here to talk about how great I am and blah, blah, blah. And this stuff is about you folks. That's why I want to give you this insight and this information so you could, decide for yourself what you think about it. And load up the comments because I really want to know what you think. I value your opinions, okay? But again, have some more perspective. There's only one team out of all 30 in baseball that's worth less than $1 billion. That's the Miami Marlins, and they're worth $990 million. So they're like right there, okay? They have a billionaire owner too. There's also only one team in baseball that had its value, franchise value, go down last year. And both of these figures come right from Forbes magazine, okay? Forbes, the financial magazine. And the only team that's values went down was the Baltimore Orioles, okay? But they're still a $1 billion franchise owned by the Angelos family. And I have this, what do I have here? The Orioles are worth, I have it here. what did 1.3 billion, 1.4 billion owned by the Angelos family. Okay, 1.4 billion dollars. The value went down a little bit last year. So, what's crazy is, so let's break this down too. The percentage of a team's revenues come from a lot of different areas, right? It comes from ticket sales, premium ticket sales, parking, merch, and some teams obviously sell more. Like the Yankees are going to sell more Aaron Judge jerseys than teams like the Royals are going to sell more Salvador Perez jerseys. It just happens that way, okay? So the revenues are going to be up and down based on each franchise and its location. So, but other things that come from merch, ticket sales, advertisements, when teams have all these billboards all over the stadium, licensing fees. So there's a lot of different ways that they make money in a lot of different ways, and it helps them, cover certain things like operational costs and player salaries, which pretty much eat up most of the team's revenues. And sometimes they're considered to be operating at a loss economically, but when you look at it at the end of the year, and you could see the revenue, this is all public record. See how much profits they made, how much revenues they brought in. You could see these teams are operating, in profit. Obviously, when the franchise values keep going up, they're operating at a profit. Okay, they wouldn't be able to do this otherwise if that was the case. But this is the type of stuff that kind of gravitates around how baseball franchises operate. But some of the stuff that's really not talked about, like the Oakland A's, okay, and and I told you about the grievance already with the players union. They filed a grievance in 2018 so that teams could stop pocketing money, and nothing's happened, which is crazy. But I want to use the Oakland A's as a prime example here. They're coming into 2023 with the lowest payroll, $40 million. Right on top of them is the Baltimore Orioles, $50 million. The Cleveland Guardians and the Washington Nationals come in with about a $75 million payroll, but they're both billion-dollar franchises. So I expect the Nationals to kind of restock and spend again like they've done before. They traded Soto. They've made a lot of trades, so they're kind of restocking. And I expect the Guardians to continue. But I'm not exactly sure they're going to re-sign guys like Shane Bieber and some of these other guys. And this team, is worth $1.3 billion. They're owned by the Dolan family. And the Lerners own the Washington Nationals. They're worth $1.9 billion. So I have a really hard time crying poverty for teams that don't want to spend. And what pisses me off the most is the teams like the Yankees specifically, and the other teams, like I said, they're giving tons and tons of revenue sharing, their own profits, to teams that are not required to spend it on and to make their team better. And that drives me nuts. And I'm going to use the Oakland A's as an example. Okay? And this one here, they're owned by John Fisher. He's worth $2 billion. The franchise itself is worth $1.18 billion, according to Forbes. Again, and this stuff is all public record, so you can take a look at it. They recently said that they could not afford to pay the rent for the Coliseum, their stadium, which is $1.2 million per year. Okay? And they skipped rent payments. They said they cried poverty. A billionaire owner cried poverty, even though they're getting revenue sharing money and TV rights deals that could easily afford the annual rent of $1.2 million for the stadium. Okay? That, to me, is the very definition of corporate greed. Okay? This is the very scam in America that we know as trickle-down economics. It's won't even get into that one. But for those that heard of it, know what I'm talking about. But and the Yankees, and we're Yankee content creator and a Yankee fan, it drives me nuts that the Yankees actually have to give some of their profits to teams like this. And again, I understand the frustration for fans. They want them to spend more. Why didn't they get Jerks in profile? Why didn't they do this? I get it. Why didn't they sign him? Why? It just comes with the territory. And there's going to be endless comparison to what the Mets do in their spending. Okay? Endless comparison. Now the Cohen's there. But again, it doesn't guarantee anything like we've said. But this is where I think it's unfair. Why are teams like the Yankees and the Mets and the Red Sox and the Dodgers and Phillies, and I'll use those guys as an example because they spend the most, okay, punished for exceeding these thresholds and having to give all this luxury tax money, but teams like the bottom who pocket the money don't have to do anything. So, can anybody explain it? I don't understand. And when I do understand, because you have tone-deaf teams, tone-deaf owners and tone-deaf union representatives who don't want to make that any change because nothing has happened since they've done this. But because again, it's all about money. But how about instead of making it about money? Because we know owners don't want, union don't want a salary cap. We get that, and they want to continue to make more, and owners want to continue to make more and pay less. So they're always trying to figure out a way to one up the other side, right, financially. But how about we use the forfeiture of draft prospects or draft picks and whatnot? So let's just say, as an example, we use the the A's, as an example right here. They could head into 2023 with a $40 million payroll. Let's just say there's a tiered, not a salary cap, but a payroll floor over the next 3 years. And let's say you have to get up to $100 million, which teams can do, okay? Even with these TV rights deals, they can do it just with that, okay? Let's just say the first year they're required to get to $50 million. The second year required to $75. The third year, they got to get to $100 million. Otherwise, they're penalized. So let's just say you don't hit it the first year, you give up your first-round draft pick. You don't hit it the second year, you give up your first and second rounders. You don't hit it the third year, you give up your first, second, and third rounders, okay? Yeah, it's going to make it hard for teams to develop players, but that's what the money is for, the free money. It's to sign players, too, to complement the players that are either developing or you're not developing. It's like the A's. They get good, then at some point make it to the playoffs, and then they gut the whole place and they do it again. And they made a movie about this, Moneyball. It's a great movie, but it basically was about how to not win a World Series, okay? And just not spend and cut cost everywhere with an owner who's filthy rich and doesn't want to invest in his own product. Now, look, they're trying to move to Las Vegas, okay? And that's in the works, I think, for the next year or two. But when the A's were rocking, they were really good. They were packing with the fans. And again, why would they not want to do this? Why would you not want to invest in your product and bring more fans in here? You get more merch sales. You get more ticket sales. You get a better team, which gives you an ability to make the playoffs. And teams make more money and revenue heading into the playoffs when they're not, as opposed to when they're not. So they make more money in each divisional round. The team gets a certain amount of revenue. The LDS, NLDS, Divisional Championship Series, World Series, they keep making more revenue. Why would you not want to get that far? This is the definition of greed, in my opinion. And again, I think it's really, really unfair that teams like the Yankees and the Red Sox and all the rest of them have to pay it, but particularly the Yankees. Okay? Give me your insights as to this. Does it anger you? I know it angers me. And I'm more angered with this than I am with the Yankees not making more moves. And I still think I don't think they're done. I still think there's another move in them. But they're just going to be, I think they're going to be a little bit more, what do you call it? Not necessarily thrifty. They're just going to try to make the moves that are not going to blow up their payroll. And I get that point, too. And I understand the frustration of folks. Wow, what's the big deal about the Cohen threshold? It's not my money anyway. So, I can't speak for other folks. That's why I'm not going to do it. But this is the type of hard conversation that I want to have. I want to know what you think because there's nobody else talking about this. And I think it's important. That's why I said I value your opinions and your feedback. Let's get into this.